Following story is a translated and adapted conversation, recounting supernatural experiences from around the world. This content is intended for entertainment purposes only. Listen with an open mind and enjoy the thrill of the unknown. The content in this video is purely for entertainment. Viewer discretion is advised. If you are easily frightened, be prepared some stories might just send chills down your spine. If you're ready, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and immerse yourself in the world of the unexplained.
Lena had always been skeptical about ghosts. She loved traveling, exploring old places, and hearing local legends, but she never truly believed in them. That changed on her trip to Chiang Mai. She had been backpacking across Thailand when she met a local photographer, preacher, who was obsessed with capturing eerie and abandoned places. One evening, as they sat in a small cafe, he leaned in with a mischievous grin. "Have you heard of the abandoned theater outside the city?" he asked. Lena shook her head. Preacher's voice dropped to a whisper. "It used to be home to the most famous Lakan troupe in Chiang Mai. Decades ago, their lead dancer, a beautiful woman named Nang Mayura, fell in love with a young musician. But he betrayed her, choosing to marry another woman. Heartbroken and humiliated, she killed herself right in the middle of the grand stage." Lena shuddered. They say, Preacher continued, before she died, she cursed the entire troupe. And soon after, everything collapsed. Performances failed, accidents happened, and eventually, the place was abandoned. Lena chuckled nervously. "So what? You want to go there?" His eyes gleamed. "I want to capture proof, and I think you should come with me." Later that night, against her better judgment, Lena found herself standing before the abandoned theater. The building loomed in the darkness, its wooden structure barely holding together. The faded banner above the entrance still bore the name of the once glorious troupe. A gust of wind howled through the broken windows, making the whole place feel alive. "This is a bad idea," she muttered. Preacher ignored her, already setting up his camera. "Come on, just a few shots." They stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of dust and decay. The main hall was eerily silent. The wooden stage at the far end bathed in faint moonlight. Rows of tattered seats faced the stage, as if waiting for a performance that would never come. A woman stood in the center of the stage, draped in a golden Thai dancer's costume. Her fingers curved in elegant gestures, her movements slow and hauntingly perfect. But something was wrong. She had no feet. She floated just above the ground, her shadow stretching unnaturally behind her. Preacher gasped, fumbling for his camera. But the moment he lifted it, the woman turned to face them. Her eyes were black voids, her lips curled into a smile too wide, too unnatural. And then she screamed. The sound ripped through the theater, a shrill wail filled with grief and rage. The wooden planks beneath them trembled. The walls creaked and groaned, as if the entire building were alive, reacting to her fury. Lena's instincts screamed at her to run, but her legs wouldn't move. Then the dancer lunged. Her body twisted at an impossible angle, her arms outstretched like talons. The scent of rotting flowers and old perfume filled the air as she rushed toward them. Preacher screamed, grabbing Lena's wrist. "Run!" They bolted toward the entrance, the sound of clapping crab wooden hand clappers chasing them, growing louder and faster. The walls shook violently, dust and debris raining down. As they neared the exit, Lena risked one last glance back. The woman stood just inside the doorway, watching them. The music had stopped. The silence was suffocating. But then, in a voice soft as the wind, she whispered, "You will come back, won't you?" Ben had always loved exploring abandoned places. There was something thrilling about stepping into a forgotten world, place where time stood still. His latest expedition brought him to an old village in central Thailand, one that had been abandoned for decades. Locals warned him to stay away. They spoke in hushed tones about a spirit that danced beneath the full moon. A woman who had once been a famed Nang Rama classical Thai dancer. They said she had been murdered in the village long ago, and on certain nights her ghost still performed her final dance. Ben, of course, didn't believe in ghost stories. Armed with his flashlight and camera, he stepped into the village just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The air was unnervingly still, the silence pressing against his ears. The wooden houses, now overgrown with vines, stood like skeletal remains of the past. As he walked further in, he saw the old shrine at the center of the village. It was small, covered in dust and decay, but strangely untouched by time. That's when he heard it. A haunting melody drifted through the air, delicate, sorrowful, and chillingly beautiful. It sounded like traditional Thai pifit music, played by an unseen orchestra. The sound sent shivers down his spine. Ben swallowed hard and turned toward the shrine. There she was. A woman in a shimmering golden dress stood before the shrine. Her back was turned to him, her hands lifted in a poised, elegant gesture. Her movements were slow, methodical, each step flowing into the next with unnatural grace. Ben's breath hitched. The villagers had been right. This wasn't just an old legend. She was real. Something inside him screamed for him to run, but his feet remained frozen. He couldn't look away. It was as if the dance was pulling him in. Then, without warning, the music stopped. The silence was deafening. Slowly, the woman turned her head, not her body, just her head. It twisted at an impossible angle, revealing her face. Ben's stomach churned. Her eyes were hollow, black pits. Her mouth stretched into a ghastly grin, too wide, too unnatural. The golden makeup on her face cracked and peeled like old paint, revealing grey, rotting flesh underneath. Then she moved. With a sickening snap, her body twisted unnaturally, her limbs bending at grotesque angles. She lunged toward him, her fingers clawing through the air. He didn't dare look back. He ran until he reached the village entrance, nearly collapsing onto the dirt road. When he finally mustered the courage to glance behind him, the music had stopped. The village was silent once more. The shrine stood empty. The woman was gone. But as Ben turned to leave, he caught something in the corner of his Ajar golden sash, fluttering in the wind. And then, ever so faintly, the whisper of a voice. "Shall we dance again?" The air in Ayutthaya was thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth as Daniel adjusted his camera strap. He had been in Thailand for nearly 3 months, traveling from province to province, documenting old temples and forgotten ruins. But nothing had piqued his curiosity quite like the story of Wat Ratchathani, abandoned temple lost to time. It wasn't just the crumbling architecture or the eerie silence that drew him in. It was the legend. Locals spoke of a ghostly dancer, a woman who had once been the star of a royal performance, but had died tragically mid-dance. They said she never left. Some swore they had seen her twirling under the moonlight. Others claimed to hear the rhythmic clap of crabwood in hand, clappers echoing from the temple grounds. Most people avoided the place, but Daniel, he was drawn to it. And that was how he found himself standing at the temple entrance just before sunset, his heart pounding in his chest. The temple was in ruins. Towering stone pillars, now covered in creeping vines, framed the main courtyard. A faded shrine sat in the center, half collapsed, with offerings of wilted flowers and melted candles left behind by those who still feared the spirit. The silence was unsettling. Daniel exhaled, forcing himself to shake off the unease. He was here to film, to capture the beauty of decay, not to chase ghost stories. He stepped forward, his boots crunching against the old brick path. The sky darkened above him, the last rays of sunlight bleeding into twilight. Then a sound, a soft hum, distant yet clear. It was a melody, a tune so delicate it barely brushed against his ears. Daniel froze. The temple had been completely silent just moments ago. Slowly, he lifted his camera and pressed record. The melody grew louder. It was a Thai classical song, slow and mournful, like an unseen orchestra playing for an audience long gone. Then, beneath the melody, came another sound. Click, clap, click, clap. The unmistakable rhythm of crab-sharp and deliberate, like unseen hands controlling the tempo of a dance. Daniel's breath hitched. He turned toward the courtyard. There, beneath the flickering light of the rising moon, a figure stood. She was draped in gold and red, her traditional Thai costume shimmering against the ruin's darkness. Her hands moved in fluid, elegant gestures, each motion perfectly timed to the unseen music. She danced alone. Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears. He lifted his camera, focusing the lens on the woman, and then she stopped. The music ceased instantly. The crab fell silent. The woman turned toward him. Daniel's fingers trembled over the camera's buttons. Something was wrong. Her face had no eyes. Only smooth, hollow sockets stared back at him. Then she took a step forward. The sound of the crab returned, faster, louder, more frenzied. Daniel couldn't breathe. He had come looking for a story, but now the story had found him. Daniel's breath came in short, ragged gasps. His hands trembled as he tried to steady the camera, but his body refused to obey. The eyeless dancer stood motionless beneath the moonlight, her body poised in an unfinished movement. The golden silk of her costume shimmered as if it were still caught mid-spin. Then she moved. Her arms lifted with unnatural grace, fingers bending into intricate gestures. Her feet, though hidden beneath the folds of her dress, never seemed to touch the ground. Daniel's mind screamed at him to run, but his legs were frozen in place. The crab clapped again. Once, twice, thrice. Each beat sent a cold shiver down his spine. Then the whispering started. At first, it was faint, just a breath against the wind. But as the dancer glided toward him, the whispers grew louder, surrounding him, pressing against his ears. "Why do you watch?" Daniel swallowed hard. His instincts screamed for him to flee, but the filmmaker in him was mesmerized. Through the camera's viewfinder, she was hauntingly beautiful. Her every motion was precise, hypnotic, yet filled with a sorrow so deep it clawed at his chest. Then her head snapped toward him. The whispers ceased. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then the music resumed. But this time, it was different. It was wrong. The once elegant melody had become distorted, warped, as if played by unseen hands that had forgotten how music was supposed to sound. The crab clapped wildly, erratic and desperate. And then the dancer rushed toward him. Daniel's body finally obeyed. He turned and ran. His footsteps pounded against the ancient stones as the ruined temple twisted around him. The shadows moved, elongated figures stretching unnaturally in the moonlight. The whispers returned, now screaming in his ears. "Stay, watch me, join the dance." The crab clapped faster. The sound was everywhere, above, behind, beneath. Daniel reached the entrance, his fingers grazing the moss-covered gate, and then everything stopped. The music, the whispers, the crab. He turned back, gasping for air. The temple was empty. The dancer was gone. The only sign she had ever been there was the faint scent of jasmine and old incense lingering in the air. Then Daniel noticed something at his feet. A single golden hairpin glinting under the moonlight. His fingers itched to pick it up, but deep inside, something warned him not to. The night was silent once more, but Daniel knew the dance was not over. Not yet. Daniel staggered backward, his heart hammering against his ribs. The golden hairpin at his feet gleamed in the moonlight, as if waiting for him to pick it up. His mind screamed, "Don't touch it." But his body, his hands moved on their own. His fingers curled around the delicate metal. The moment he lifted it, the temple shifted. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of jasmine and old incense. The ruins around him seemed less broken, the walls no longer covered in vines. The cracks in the stone floor sealed themselves, and the faded murals of dancers along the walls became vivid and new. Daniel blinked. He was no longer standing in an abandoned temple. He was inside a grand performance hall. Golden lanterns hung from above, casting a warm glow over the polished wooden floor. The once crumbled pillars were restored, standing tall and proud. Silken banners swayed gently with the breeze, and in front of him, a crowd of shadowy figures sat in perfect rows, their faces featureless, their bodies motionless. Then the crab clapped. Once, twice, thrice. The dancer was there again. She stood in the center of the stage, her golden and red costume shimmering under the lanterns. The melody of a Thai sword-twang fiddle played softly in the background, the notes sad and haunting. But something was wrong. This time, she did not dance alone. To Daniel's horror, his own body began to move. His arms lifted, his fingers bending in the same intricate gestures as hers. His feet, though unwilling, stepped forward, mirroring her movements. He was dancing with her. His breath quickened. His mind screamed for him to stop, to fight, but his body was no longer his own. The crab clapped faster, the melody swelling into a fevered pitch. The shadowed audience leaned forward, as if eager for the final act. The dancer slowly turned toward him, and for the first time she spoke. "You took my offering. Now you must finish my dance." Her voice was soft, filled with an endless sorrow. Then she removed her golden mask. Daniel's blood ran cold. There was nothing behind it, just a gaping void where her face should be. The crab clapped violently. The audience began to murmur, their whispers growing louder, faster, overlapping into a deafening cacophony. Daniel's vision blurred. The world spun around him. He couldn't breathe. Then, blackness. Daniel woke up to the first light of dawn. He was lying on the cold stone floor of the abandoned temple. His camera lay beside him, its battery dead. His fingers trembled as he reached into his pocket and found the golden hairpin. His chest tightened. The temple was silent now, the night's horrors gone without a trace. But the faint scent of jasmine still lingered in the air, and in the distance, barely audible, the soft, mournful hum of a song. The dance was not over, and deep inside, Daniel knew it never would be. Jira never believed in ghosts. She had always thought supernatural stories were nothing but exaggerations told to scare children. But that night, she learned the truth in the most horrifying way. It all started when her friend, Ploy, invited her to an abandoned temple in Ayutthaya. Ploy was a thrill-seeker, obsessed with ghost hunting and urban legends. She had read online about a haunted shrine where people reported seeing a mysterious woman dancing alone under the moonlight. They said she was a cursed spirit, doomed to perform for eternity. This is just another dumb story, Jira scoffed as they arrived at the temple. The air was thick with humidity, and the scent of old wood and incense lingered in the wind. The place was eerily silent, except for the occasional rustling of leaves. The main shrine stood in the middle of the courtyard, its wooden pillars cracked and covered in vines. "Come on, just one video," Ploy urged. "If we catch something, it'll go viral." Reluctantly, Jira agreed. They set up their phones and started recording. Nothing happened at first, just the dim glow of their flashlight cutting through the darkness. Then they heard it. A faint sound, the delicate clinking of crab, the wooden hand clappers used in traditional Thai dance. It came from nowhere, echoing through the air. Jira's body froze. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Ploy nodded, her face pale. "It's probably just the wind, or an animal." But then came the sound of footsteps, soft, rhythmic, and deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of someone walking barefoot on stone. And then they saw her. A woman in a golden silk dress stepped into the moonlight. Her movements were slow and graceful, her hands bending in perfect, elegant gestures. Her head tilted slightly, but her face was hidden behind the long strands of her black hair. Jira couldn't breathe. Something about her presence felt wrong. The woman's dance continued, her feet gliding across the ground effortlessly. But the closer she came, the heavier the air felt. The temperature dropped. Ploy grabbed Jira's arm, her grip trembling. "We need to go," Ploy muttered. Jira turned to run, but then the woman stopped dancing. The silence was suffocating. Slowly, painfully slowly, the woman lifted her head. Her face was not human. Her eyes were hollow, black pits. Her mouth stretched unnaturally wide, a grin too big for any human face. And then she screamed. The sound was deafening, a high-pitched wail mixed with the sharp snap of breaking bones. The torches in the shrine burst into flame, illuminating the woman's grotesque form. Her body twisted unnaturally, her limbs bending in impossible angles. Jira and Ploy ran. They ran as fast as their legs could carry them, the sound of clapping crab chasing them, growing louder and louder. As they reached the entrance of the temple, Jira dared to look back. The woman was right behind them. Her arms reached out, her fingers long and claw-like. Her hollow eyes locked onto Jira's, and for a moment she felt something pull her in. Then suddenly silence. The sound stopped. The air felt normal again. They were outside the temple grounds. The woman was gone. Jira collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. Ploy was crying, her body shaking violently. They never spoke about that night again. But sometimes, when Jira was alone in her apartment, she would hear it. The soft, rhythmic tapping of bare feet, the delicate clink of crab, and the whisper of a song from a voice that was no longer human. Niran never believed in ghosts. He had lived in Bangkok all his life, surrounded by towering skyscrapers and the constant noise of the city. The supernatural was just an old-fashioned belief to him, something the elderly spoke about in whispers. That was until the night he visited Wat Khao Pha. It started as a simple dare. His friends, a group of university students, had been talking about the ghost story surrounding the temple. They claimed that a spirit of a royal dancer haunted the grounds, forever mourning her lost love. Some said they had seen her dancing under the moonlight, while others heard the eerie sound of a sword dwanga, traditional Thai fiddle playing in the dead of night. "Come on, Niran," his friend T grinned. "If you're so sure ghosts aren't real, let's go prove it." So, Against his better judgment, Naran found himself standing in front of Wat Khao Fa at midnight. The temple was ancient, its white walls stained with age. The grand Ubiset ordination hall stood at the heart of the temple, its golden roof glistening faintly under the dim streetlights. The air was thick, humid, and unnervingly still. "All right, let's get this over with," Naran muttered, stepping past the temple gates. The moment he crossed the threshold, a strange chill ran down his spine. The air suddenly felt heavier, pressing against his skin like an unseen force. Then came the sound, a soft, delicate plucking of strings. Naran froze. His friends, who had been joking moments before, also stopped dead in their tracks. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, slow, melancholic, and painfully sad. "Where is that coming from?" T whispered. Naran's eyes darted to the Ubiset. The doors, which had been closed just moments ago, were now slightly ajar. A dim glow flickered from inside. Then she appeared. A woman in an elaborate golden tie costume stepped into the moonlight. Her dress shimmered as she moved, the delicate silk flowing like water. Her hands twisted gracefully, fingers bending in elegant gestures. But something was wrong. Her movements were too slow, almost unnatural. Her feet barely touched the ground, as if she were floating. Naran's breath hitched. The legends, they were true. The woman continued to dance, but her face remained tilted downward, hidden beneath the ornate golden headdress. Then she stopped. The music ceased. The silence was suffocating. Slowly, painfully slowly, the woman lifted her head. Naran's stomach dropped. Her eyes were hollow. Black, empty voids stared back at him. Her lips curled into a grotesque, unnatural smile, one that stretched far too wide for any human face. Then, with an inhuman snap, her neck twisted at an impossible angle. She lunged, ... A piercing shriek ripped through the air. The sound of crab wooden hand clappers echoed violently around them, like bones snapping in rapid succession. The temple lights flickered, casting her twisted figure in brief, horrifying flashes. "Run!" T screamed. They didn't need to be told twice. Naran sprinted, his heart pounding like a war drum. The sound of clapping crab followed him, growing louder, faster, as if something was chasing them. He didn't dare look back. The temple gates were just ahead. If they could make it outside, then, suddenly, Naran stumbled forward, gasping for air. He turned around, his body trembling. The temple stood quiet and undisturbed. The Ubiset doors were closed once again. There was no sign of the woman, no music, no movement. But as Naran wiped the sweat from his brow, he noticed something on the ground. A single golden hairpin, glistening under the temple lights. And then, ever so faintly, a whisper carried through the wind. The night air in Fetcherbury was thick with humidity as Alex adjusted the straps of his backpack. He had always been fascinated by the supernatural, but nothing intrigued him more than the story of the smiling dancer of the abandoned palace. Locals spoke in hushed voices about the cursed performer, once renowned. Court dancer who had been wrongfully accused of betrayal and executed in disgrace. It was said that her spirit still haunted the palace ruins, dancing under the moonlight, waiting for someone to witness her final performance. Most people feared her. Alex, he wanted to see her for himself. That was why, at exactly midnight, he stood in front of the forgotten gates of the royal palace, his camera slung round his neck. The palace was a forgotten relic of the past. Its grand entrance, once adorned with golden embellishments, now stood in eerie silence, overgrown with vines and decayed by time. The faded murals of celestial dancers still clung to the peeling walls, their painted eyes watching him as he stepped inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air shifted. It was as if the world had grown to quiet, no chirping insects, no rustling leaves, just an endless, suffocating silence. Then, a sound, a soft hum, distant yet unmistakable. Alex felt a chill crawl down his spine. His fingers tightened around the camera as he moved deeper into the ruins, his footsteps echoing through the abandoned halls. Then, as he turned the corner into what had once been the grand ballroom, he froze. Under the silver glow of the moon, a woman stood perfectly still. She was dressed in an elaborate traditional Thai costume, her golden headdress gleaming under the dim light. Her hands were poised in a delicate gesture, as if caught mid-dance, but she wasn't moving. She wasn't even breathing. Alex swallowed hard. He lifted his camera, adjusting the focus, but the moment he pressed record, the dancer moved. Her arms lifted with unnatural grace, her fingers bending in precise, delicate motions. Her feet never made a sound against the cracked floor. The hum grew into a Melodia Thai classical song, slow and haunting. Then, beneath the music, came the clap of crab, once, twice, thrice. Alex's pulse quickened. She danced alone. Her movements were hypnotic, sorrowful, like a soul trapped in an endless waltz. Then she stopped. The music abruptly cut off. The crab fell silent. Slowly, the dancer turned toward him. Alex's breath caught in his throat. She was smiling, but it wasn't a human smile. It was too wide, too unnatural, stretching beyond the limits of her face. Then she took a step forward. The crab clapped again, faster, louder, closer. Alex wanted to run, but something told him it was already too late. Alex's breath came in short gasps. His feet refused to move, as if the very ground beneath him had trapped him in place. The dancer stood only a few meters away now, her too wide smile stretching impossibly across her face. The golden ornaments on her headdress glinted under the pale moonlight, swaying gently as if caught in an unseen breeze. The crab clapped again, once, twice, thrice. Then she danced again. Her arms moved in intricate gestures, her body gliding effortlessly across the cracked floor. But this time, her movements felt wrong. Too fast, too aggressive, too inhuman. Alex's fingers trembled as he gripped his camera, its red recording light blinking like a heartbeat. Then, the dancer stopped, and in the eerie silence that followed, Alex heard a new sound, a faint giggling. But it wasn't coming from her, ... It was coming from all around him. His breath hitched. His eyes darted to the darkened corners of the ballroom, where the faded murals of dancers were painted on the ancient walls. But now, they were moving. Their painted faces twisted into grotesque grins, their painted hands clapping silently, their painted bodies swaying to an unseen rhythm. The entire room was alive. Alex took a shaky step backward. The dancer snapped her head toward him. Then she lunged. Her body did not run. She simply glided forward, her feet never touching the ground. The crab clapped frantically, echoing in his skull. He ran. Alex bolted down the darkened hallways, his camera swinging wildly against his chest. The once silent palace was now alive with sound, the whisper of silk fabric brushing against stone, the rhythmic clap of the crab keeping time with his pounding heartbeat, and the soft, breathless giggles of something unseen. The exit, he just needed to reach the exit. His lungs burned as he turned a sharp corner and stopped cold. The dancer was there, waiting for him, standing between him and the exit. Her body was unnaturally still, but her smile had grown wider. Her hands lifted, inviting him to join the dance. Alex's legs felt weak. Then, in the darkness behind her, more figures began to emerge. Women in tattered Thai costumes, their faces frozen in grotesque smiles, their movements jerky and broken, as if they had been forced to dance for centuries. They raised their arms in perfect unison. The crab clapped one last time, and then the dancer stepped toward him. Alex opened his mouth to scream. Everything went black. Alex's world was dark. The echoes of clapping crabs still rang in his ears, but his body felt heavy, as if he was sinking into something deep and endless. Then, a voice. "You took my place." Alex's eyes snapped open. He was no longer in the ruined halls of the palace. He was standing in a grand ballroom, its golden chandeliers flickering with candlelight. The air was filled with the scent of jasmine and incense, and the polished wooden floor stretched endlessly beneath him. But the worst part, he wasn't alone. Surrounding him were figures dressed in traditional Thai costumes, their faces twisted into wide, unnatural smiles. Their bodies twitched, as if struggling to keep moving, but their arms and legs followed a strict, impossible rhythm. And in the center of them all, the dancer, her golden headdress shone like fire, her long fingers bending in delicate, intricate gestures. She raised her hand, beckoning him, and suddenly Alex's body moved. Against his will, his arms lifted, mimicking her gestures. His feet glided across the floor, following an unseen rhythm. He was dancing. The crab clapped again, faster, louder, ... His body twirled and swayed, his movements flawless. If he had been trained for this his entire life, he tried to stop, but he couldn't. His muscles burned, his breath came in ragged gasps, but he had no control. The crowd of dancers around him moved in perfect unison, their smiles never fading, their eyes vacant and lifeless. Alex's mind screamed. Then the dancer stepped closer. Her smile was now too wide, her eyes empty voids of darkness. She reached out, her fingers brushing against his chest. And in that moment, Alex understood. This wasn't just a haunting. It was a curse, a punishment. All the dancers around him, they had been here before him. They had tried to leave, and they had failed, just as he would. The music swelled, the crab clapped violently, and Alex's feet kept moving, faster, 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 until everything stopped. The music, the clapping, the movement, and Alex. Alex smiled. His lips curled too wide, stretching beyond the limits of his face. His eyes dimmed, his body froze in place, locked forever in a perfect dance pose. And deep in the abandoned palace, a new legend was born. For those who entered at midnight would hear the soft clap of the crab, would see the shadow of a foreign man dancing among the cursed performers, and if they watched for too long, they would see him slowly turn to smile at them. The dance never ends, and now neither does he. In Pattaya, where the night pulses with neon and sin, the high-rise condos tower over the chaos, their lights hiding secrets in their shadows. One such building, Seaside Heights, a faded relic on Soi 13, carries a whispered tale among delivery drivers. They speak of a tenant in room 7C, a figure who orders late, pays well, and never shows their face. Some call it a Phi Na Mai Me, a faceless ghost, born from a suicide years back, a woman who leaped from the balcony, her identity erased by despair, her spirit trapped in the room she fled. She waits, they say, for those who linger too long, her voice a lure, her presence a curse. Lek was 25. a stocky delivery driver with a shaved head and a permanent scowl. A Pattaya native hardened by its streets. He'd been riding for food apps since he was 20, after his father's fishing boat sank, leaving him to support his younger brother and a pile of debts. The job was his lifeline, long nights weaving through traffic, dodging drunks and racing the clock, but it paid, and Lek was good at it. He thrived in the chaos, the blare of horns and the glow of walking street a comfort, though the late shifts tested him. The city slept fitfully after midnight, its edges sharpening, its shadows deepening, and the old ghost stories his mother told spirits in the alleys, faces in the dark, clung to him like sweat. It was a humid Wednesday night, 1:30 a.m., when his phone buzzed with an order. Lek was parked near a go-go bar, the bass thumping through his bones, nursing a cigarette as he watched the last stragglers stumble home. The app pinged. Delivery to Seaside Heights, room 7C, SOI 13 drop-off only. Note, leave at door, don't knock. Time, ASAP. The order was fried rice, 80 baht, with a 50 baht, tip decent for a quick run. Lex smirked, flicking his cigarette away. Easy cash, he muttered, though SOI 13 gave him pause, a quiet stretch off the main drag. Its condos, old and half empty, their lights dimming early. He grabbed the bag from a nearby stall, the kookawiry man named Pitum handing it over with a grunt. Seaside Heights again? Pitum asked, his eyes narrowing. That 7C guy orders every week, always late, always weird. Lex shrugged, strapping the bag to his bike. Pays good, doesn't complain, what's weird about that? Pitum leaned close, his voice low. Never seen him. Doors always shut some, say he's not. Alive, Lek laughed, a rough sound, and revved his engine. Ghosts don't eat rice, P. See you later. But Pitum's stare lingered, a seed of unease sprouting in Lek's gut. SOI 13 was a stark contrast to Pattaya's heart, a narrow lane flanked by sagging condos and shuttered shops, its streetlights flickering, casting jagged shadows. Lek's scooter hummed through the quiet, the neon fading behind him, the air growing still and heavy with the scent of salt and decay from the nearby sea. Seaside Heights loomed ahead, a 10-story slab of cracked concrete, its paint peeling, its windows mostly dark save for a few faint glows. The lobby was a ghost town, tiles chipped, lights buzzing, the security guard asleep at his desk, his snores a faint echo. Lek parked, his boots crunching on gravel, and slung the bag over his shoulder. The elevator was out, always was. Drivers said so. He took the stairs, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, their hum grating on his nerves. The stairwell smelled of mildew and stale cigarettes, the walls scrawled with faded graffiti names, curses, a crude drawing of a face with no eyes. Lek's steps quickened, his scowl deepening, the unease from Pitum's words gnawing at him. Just drop it and go, he muttered, his voice bouncing off the concrete, sounding smaller than he liked. Floor 7 was a long hall, its carpet threadbare, its doors silent. Room 7C was at the end, its number plate rusted, its paint chipped. Lek's heart thudded, louder than it should, and he shook it off, blaming the climb. The hall was too quiet, no TVs, no voices, just the buzz of a dying light and the distant crash of waves. He reached the door, its wood warped, a faint stain like water damage spreading from the bottom. Leave it, don't knock, he repeated, crouching to set the bag down, his fingers brushing the cold floor. As Lek straightened, the door creaked a slow, deliberate groan that froze him mid-motion. His breath caught, his scowl faltering, and he stared as it swung inward, revealing a sliver of shadow. The room beyond was dark, a void that swallowed the hall's faint light. And a figure stood just inside, tall, thin shape draped in a loose shirt, its edges frayed, its face lost in the gloom. "Thank you," it rasped, a voice like sandpaper on bone, low and wet, as if spoken through a throat long unused. Lek's stomach twisted, his instincts screaming run, but curiosity, that damn Pataya's stubbornness, held him. He glanced up, a quick flick of his eyes, and the world tilted. The figure had no face, just a smooth, pale expanse. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, a blank mask of skin stretched tight over a skull. It shimmered faintly, like wet clay, and Lek's breath stopped, his chest seizing, terror flooding him in a cold wave. "What the?" he choked, stumbling back, his boots slipping on the carpet. The figure tilted its head, an unnatural angle, and the voice came again, "Thank you." Closer now, though it hadn't moved, the sound echoing inside his skull. Lek bolted, his bag slamming against his hip, his boots pounding the hall. Footsteps followed, soft, deliberate, a steady thud-thud that matched his pace, too close, too real. He didn't look back, couldn't his mind a blur of fear and denial, his heart hammering so hard it hurt. The hall stretched, the light flickering, shadows lunging from the wall's hands, shapes, a faceless silhouette mirrored in every door. "Run, run, run," his mind screamed, his prayers tumbling out, "Pra Futha Jow, save me." A plea he hadn't spoken since childhood, raw and desperate. The stairwell loomed, its door banging open as Lek threw himself through. The footsteps echoing louder, dash thud down the steps. Around the corners, a relentless pursuit. The air turned cold, his breath fogging, the buzz of the lights sharpening into a whine that pierced his ears. He tripped, his knees slamming concrete, pain jolting through him, but he scrambled up, the footsteps closing, "Thank you." The voice behind him now, inches away, wet and rasping, a hand brushing his neck, cold as death. Visions hit him her, a woman in room 7C, years ago, staring at the sea, her face tear-streaked, her hope gone. She jumped, the balcony her escape, her body shattering on the pavement, her features erased by the fall, her spirit bound to the room, waiting, calling. Lek saw himself in her void, faceless, trapped, his scowl Ganand screamed, the sound tearing his throat, his legs pumping as he hit the lobby, the guard still snoring, oblivious. He burst outside, the humid air a shock, his scooter waiting like a lifeline. The footsteps stopped, the voice fading, "Thank you." A whisper on the wind as he fumbled his keys, the engine roaring to life. He sped off, so I-13 shrinking in his mirrors, the condo's shadow receding, but his neck burned where she'd touched Ticey, searing, a mark he couldn't see. His chest heaved, tears stinging his eyes, fear and relief crashing together, his prayers a sob. I'm out. Though the hall's echo lingered, her blank face etched in his mind. Lek didn't sleep, couldn't, the night blurring into dawn. His brother's questions ignored, his cigarette trembling in his hand. He reported the run complete, kept the tip, but the app haunted him. At 2 a.m. the next night, it pinged again. Seaside Heights, Room 7, sea-fried rice. Note, come inside this time. His stomach dropped, his scowl gone, replaced by a hollow dread. He deleted the order, blocked the app, but the notification lingered. Come inside, a glitch, a call, her voice rasping through the screen. He quit the next day, took a bar job, stayed off so I-13, but the burn on his neck stayed red lines, a faint outline, flaring in the dark. Sleep brought dreams her blank face, the hall footstep sound. One night, smoking outside, he heard it, "Thank you," soft, from the alley, a shadow moving where no one stood. Lek froze, his cigarette falling, her call a thread he couldn't cut. In Ubon Rajathani, where the rice fields stretch under a vast sky and ancient temples dot the land, there's a house or what's left of it near Wat Pra, that Nong Bua. It's a charred ruin, its wooden beams blackened, its roof collapsed, abandoned since a fire claimed it decades ago. Locals whisper of poor Sam, an old man who lived there alone, a recluse who loved ordering food and tipping drivers with crumpled notes. The fire took him one stormy night, his screams lost in the flames, and with him burned his secret. The notes were hell money, offerings for the dead, not the living. Now, they say, his spirit lingers, a Phi Tai Hong bound to the ashes, still tipping those who deliver to his ghost. Pim was 23, a delivery girl with a wiry frame and a sharp jaw, her short hair tucked under a cap. She'd grown up in Ubon's rural edges, her family farmers who barely scraped by, and the delivery gig was her rebellion freedom on her beat-up Suzuki scooter, cash in her pocket, a break from the fields. She liked the work, the hum of the engine, the chatter of customers, but the night shifts wore on her. The roads darkened, the villages hushed, and her mother's ghost story spirits in the rice, shadows by the temples crept into her mind, uninvited. It was a muggy Tuesday night, past 11 p.m., when her phone buzzed with an order. Pim was parked near a roadside stall, sipping sugarcane juice, the air thick with the scent of wet earth and incense from the nearby temple. The app pinged, delivery to house near Wat Pra, that Nong Bua drop-off only. Order KO pad, 70 baht, time, ASAP. The address was vague, a dirt lane off the main road, but the 30 baht tip swayed her. Quick run, she muttered, wiping her hands. Though the temple's name stirred a flicker of unease, her cousin had warned her about that stretch. Tales of lights in the ruins, voices in the wind. She picked up the fried rice from a stall in town, the cook a plump woman named May, Noi handing it over with a frown. Near the temple, that old place, May Noi asked, her voice low. Pim nodded, strapping the bag to her bike. Yawai May Noi hesitated, then said, "Be fast." Poor Som's house burned years back. People still order from there, but no one lives there. Pim smirked, a nervous edge to it. Ghosts don't eat, May, I'll be fine. But May Noi's eyes followed her as she rode off, a knot of doubt tightening in her chest. The ride to Wat Pra that Nong Bua was quiet, the city's hum fading into the drone of crickets and the rustle of rice stalks. Pim's headlight cut through the dark, the road narrowing to a dirt path flanked by fields and tamarind trees, their branches clawing the sky. The temple loomed ahead, its golden chedi glinting faintly under the moon, a silent sentinel over the stillness. Beyond it, the lane twisted, the air growing cooler, heavier, the scent of incense mixing with something acrid, charcoal, ash, a memory of fire. Pim slowed, her scooter bouncing on the rutted path, her cap shading eyes that darted to the shadows. She'd heard the stories pour Som, the fire, the tip's butt laughed them off, her practicality a shield. Just old folks, scaring kids, she muttered, though her grip tightened, her pulse quickening. The house emerged a blackened shell, its walls collapsed, its beams jutting like bones, vines snaking through the ruin. A single lantern flickered on the porch, its light weak, swaying though the air was still. Weird, she whispered, parking, her boots crunching on ash-dusted earth. She grabbed the bag, her hands steady but clammy, and approached the porch. The ruin was silent, no dogs, no wind, just the lantern's creak and the temple's distant chant, faint and mournful. The door was gone, the frame charred, the interior a void of shadow. Drop off only, she reminded herself, setting the bag near the lantern. Its warmth a frail comfort against the chill seeping from the house. As Pim turned to leave, a sound stopped her shuffle, soft and deliberate, from the dark within. Her breath caught, her smirk fading, and she froze as a figure stepped into the lantern's glow. An old man poor psalm, her mind supplied, unbidden, stooped and frail, his shirt tattered, his skin pale and mottled like ash on bone. His eyes glinted, too bright, too alive, and his hand cold, clammy. Trembling held out a crumpled 100 baht note. "For you," he rasped, voice dry as embers, a smile cracking his lips, revealing teeth yellowed and sharp. Pim's heart thudded, fear spiking, but her manners held. "Ah, thank you, Paul," she stammered, taking the note, its texture rough, damp, wrong. His hand lingered, icy against her fingers, and the chill shot up her arm, numbing her bones. She forced a nod, backing away, his gaze pinning, her knowing, hungry, a spark in the dark. "Safe ride," he croaked, stepping back, the shadows swallowing him, the lantern dimming as if snuffed. She bolted to her scooter, her chest tight, her hands shaking as she stuffed the note in her pocket. "Just an old guy crazy, not dead," she gasped, revving the engine, the roar a lifeline. But the chill stayed, the note heavy against her thigh, and as she sped off, the lantern flared behind her bright, then gone her mirrors empty, the ruin silent. Her mind raced he's alive, but her gut screamed otherwise. The cold in her arms spreading, her breath fogging in the humid night. Pim rode hard, the path blurring, the temple's cheddy a fading beacon. The air thickened, a smoky haze curling from the fields, the scent of ash choking her lungs. Her pocket burned not heat, but a piercing cold, the note shifting, crinkling as if alive. She swerved, nearly tipping, her prayers tumbling out. "Pra, Futha Zhao, protect me." A plea she hadn't voiced since her grandmother's funeral, raw and desperate. The scooter's hum faltered, the headlight flickering, and a sound drifted. "For you," his voice, faint, from the dark, weaving through the haze. She reached Homashak on the city's edge past midnight, her brother asleep, the night still. She stumbled inside, her cap falling, her hands fumbling to the kitchen. The note she pulled it out, its edges curling, its ink faded, and as she unfolded it, it crumbled, ash spilling through her fingers, dusting the floor. "No," she whispered, her voice trembling, her stomach lurching, terror flooding her. She scrubbed her hands, the ash clinging, cold and gritty, her skin prickling as if watched. Sleep eluded her, the ash a stain on her mind, poor Solm's glinting eyes haunting her. Dawn broke, and she rode to the stall, her hands still shaking, asking Mei Noi, that house near the temple, what happened. Mei Noi's face paled. Burned years ago, poor Som died in it. Loved tipping drivers, but it's hell money now, not real. Pim's knees buckled, her breath short, the cold in her pocket, a memory that wouldn't fade. "For you." His voice in her ears, a tip she couldn't return. The next night, Pim's phone buzzed, same order, same house, same tip. She deleted it, blocked the app, but the notification lingered. "For you." A glitch, a call, his rasp through the screen. She quit, took a factory job, stayed off that road. But the ash stayed with her flecks in her dreams, a cold burn on her fingers. One stormy night, washing dishes, she heard it, safe ride. Soft from the window, a shadow in the rain, glinting eyes in the dark. She dropped the plate, her scream silent, his tip a debt she couldn't pay. The ruin stands, its ashes hiding poor Sam's weight. Drivers avoid it, the tail growing don't take his tips, don't linger. Pim carries his mark, his voice, a piece of his fire, knowing he waits, his hell money, a chain, his smile, a curse she can't escape. In the old quarters of Chiang Mai, where narrow Sois twists past crumbling shop houses and ancient temples, whispers linger of things best left undisturbed. One such tale speaks of a small wooden box, intricately carved with lotus motifs, sealed tight with red thread, a vessel for a Fai Ying, a child spirit bound by dark rituals. Decades ago, a grieving mother, unable to bear her daughter's death from fever, turned to a forbidden monk who trapped the girl's soul in the box, promising eternal companionship. But the spirit, Nang Noi, grew restless, her giggles turning to cries, her presence a curse on those who held her. The box vanished after the mother's mysterious death, only to resurface in shadowed hands, passed from one unwitting soul to the next Hoffen through late-night deliveries. Nung was 19, a lanky delivery worker with restless energy and a mop of black hair that fell into his eyes. He'd dropped out of school 2 years back, his family's noodle stall in Doi Sakot, too poor to keep him fed, let alone educated. Chiang Mai was his escapist city of lights and bustle, where he could ride his battered Honda scooter, delivering food and packages to scrape by. He loved the freedom, the wind on his face, the hum of the engine under him, but the night shifts were different. The streets emptied, the lanterns dimmed, and the old stories his grandmother told, ghosts in the trees, spirits in the walls, crept into his thoughts, unbidden. It was a cool Friday night, just past midnight, when his phone buzzed with a new order. Nong was parked near the Tha Phai gate, sipping a cheap iced tea, the city's nightlife fading around him. The app pinged, pickup, shop house on Soi Wat Among, drop-off house on Canal Road, package, small box, urgent deliver, by 1 a.m. The pay was 150 baht, generous for a short run, and Non's tired eyes lit up. Easy money, he muttered, pocketing his drink. He rode through the city, the neon signs blurring past, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and motor oil. His mind wandered too. His little sister, still at the stall, her cough worsening. To the rent due next week. To the freedom this job promised if he could just keep going. One more run, he told himself, turning onto Soi Wat Among. The lane was narrow, its walls stained with moss, its lanterns casting weak pools of light. The shop house was the last one, a sagging wooden structure, its shutters closed, its sign faded to illegibility. Nong parked, his scooter's engine ticking as it cooled and knocked, the sound echoing too loud in the stillness. The door creaked open, revealing a figure cloaked in a hooded jacket, their face lost in shadow. Non's stomach tightened, his usual chatter stilled by the figure's silence. "A package for Canal Road?" he asked, voice unsteady. The figure nodded, handing him a small wooden box 6 inches square, heavy for its size, its surface carved with lotus flowers, red thread wound tight around it. The wood was cold, unnaturally so, and Non's fingers flinched at the touch. "Don't open it," the figure rasped, voice low and rough, like gravel on stone. "Deliver it fast, don't stop." Nung frowned, a nervous laugh escaping. "What's in it?" "Something alive." The figure's head tilted, and for a moment he glimpsed eyes dark, sunken, glinting with something wrong. "Just go," they said, slamming the door. Nong stood there, the box in his hands, his heart thudding. "Weird guy," he muttered, shoving it into his delivery bag, a beat-up backpack slung over his shoulder. The weight settled against his back, colder than it should be, and he shook it off, climbing onto his scooter. Probably drugs or some creepy antique, he told himself, revving the engine. But Mei Yai's stories, spirits in boxes, souls trapped by monks bricked at him, and he glanced back, the shop house dark and still, as if no one had been there at all. He pulled onto the road, the city's hum fading as he headed for Canal Road. The night deepened, the air cooling, the streets emptying save for stray dogs and flickering street lights. His headlight carved a frail path, the Ping River's edge looming to his right, its water black and glassy. Nang hummed a pop song, forcing calm, but his hands gripped the bars too tight, his knuckles pale. "Just a job," he whispered, the box's weight a constant pressure against his spine. 5 minutes in, the box moved. A slight shift at first, a nudge against his back, like a cat adjusting in sleep. Nong tensed, his song faltering, his eyes darting to his mirrors. Nothing but the road, the river, the dark. What the hell? He muttered, slowing slightly, his mind racing mice toy, something loose. But then it came again, sharper thump, deliberate, as if something inside kicked the wood. His breath hitched, a chill crawling up his neck, and he sped up, the engine's roar drowning his rising panic. The thumping grew thump-thump, thump-thump, rhythmic, insistent, a heartbeat against his spine. Non's hands shook, sweat beading on his brow despite the cool air, and a sound pierced the night, a giggle, faint and childlike, muffled through the bag. Pinong, it called, soft, playful, a girl's voice that knew him, that slipped into his ears like a secret. His heart slammed, terror flooding him, his scooter swerving as he fought to hold the road. "No, no, no," he gasped, his voice trembling, his eyes wide, searching the mirrors, empty, always empty. The giggle came again, "Let me out," Pinong, louder, clearer, a plea laced with glee, and the box jolted, a hard kick that rocked his bag, nearly tipping him. "Stop it," he shouted, his voice cracking, his prayers tumbling out. "Pra Futha Jiao, protect me," Huff remembered, desperate. The river gleamed to his right, its surface rippling as if something watched, and the air thickened, a dampness that clung to his skin, smelling of rot and wet earth. He gunned the engine, the speedometer climbing 40 kilometers per hour, 50, but the thumping matched it, the giggle rising, a chorus now, echoing in his skull. Non's mind unraveled, fear clawing at his chest, his prayers a frantic chant, "Na, Motasa," his voice breaking, his faith a frail shield. The box writhed, the kicks pounding his back, the wood creaking as if it might split. "Pinong, play with me." The voice giggled, closer now, not from the bag but beside his ear, a breath he felt, cold, wet, wrong. He swerved, the scooter tilting, tires screeching on damp asphalt, the river's edge inches away. Shadows flickered in his mirror's small hands, a child's silhouette pressing against the glass, then gone. The streetlights dimmed, their glow shrinking, and a fog rolled in thick, grey, curling from the river, swallowing the road. Non's headlight faltered, its beam a frail thread, and the giggle turned to a hummer lullaby, soft and eerie, weaving through the fog. "Pinong, don't leave me," it sang, the box thumping in time, a dance of trapped fury. He saw her then, not in the mirror, but ahead, a small figure in the fog. Pale and still, her dress tattered, her hair dripping, her face hidden. She stood in the road, unmoving, and Nong screamed, yanking the bars, the scooter skidding as he veered around her. The engine coughed, the speed dropping, and the bag grew heavier, the kicks bruising his back, the voice pleading, "Let me out." A shriek now, splitting his ears. Visions hit him, a girl in a dark room, fever burning her skin, a mother's sobs, a monk's chants, red thread binding her soul, her eyes opening black and endless as the box closed. Nang, Noi, trapped, raging, her giggle a mask for her despair, her curse on whoever carried her. Non's stomach churned, tears streaming, his prayers a sob. I'm sorry, but he rode on, the drop-off his only hope. Canal Road emerged from the fog, a row of sagging houses, their windows dark, their roofs rusting. The address was the last one, an abandoned shack, its walls rotting, its porch sagging under vines. Nan skidded to a stop, the box still thumping, the giggle shrill penong, and he tore the bag off, his hands numb, fumbling the straps. The box fell silent, still, its weight unbearable as he staggered to the porch, dropping it with a thud. "Take it," he shouted, voice raw, backing away, his eyes locked on the wood, expecting it to burst. The fog thickened, the shack's door creaking open an inch, revealing nothing but black. Nang froze, his heart pounding, the giggle gone, the silence worse deafening, alive. He ran to his scooter, the engine roaring to life, and sped away, the shack shrinking in his mirrors. Halfway back, the giggle returned faint, playful, from his empty bag. "Penong," it whispered, and he swerved, nearly crashing, his scream lost in the wind. The bag was empty, he'd checked, but her voice stayed, a passenger he couldn't drop. Outside Bangkok, where the city's sprawl fades into patchwork fields and forgotten villages, Route 305 stretches like a scar through the night. It's a narrow, unlit road flanked by banana groves and abandoned shacks, a path few take after dark. Locals whisper of a woman in Witterfai Tai Hong, a spirit of violent death who haunts its curves. She was Nang Dao, a young bride who, decades ago, fled her abusive husband on this road, only to be struck by a truck in the rain, her body left broken among the trees. Her spirit lingers, they say, seeking riders to carry her pain, her black eyes a curse on those who meet her gaze. Delivery drivers avoid it, but some, like Samchai, have no choice. Somchai was 32, a wiry man with calloused hands and tired eyes. A motorbike delivery driver scraping by in Nonthaburi, just north of Bangkok. He'd been at it for 3 years, ever since his factory job vanished in a layoffs wave, leaving him with rent to pay and a mother to feed. The gig was grueling, long hours, rude customers, and the constant hum of his beat-up Yamaha. It kept him afloat. Day shifts were fine, the bustle of traffic a comfort, but night shifts were another beast. The dark pressed in, the roads emptied, and the stories he'd laughed off as a kid, ghosts, spirits, things in the shadows, gnawed at him now. It was a muggy Thursday night, past 11 p.m, when his phone buzzed with an order. He'd been slumped on his bike outside a 7-Eleven, sipping lukewarm coffee, debating whether to call it quits. The app pinged. Delivery to Ban Khao, 15 kilometers west, route 305. Pickup, noodle stall, drop-off house near the rice fields. Time, ASAP. Sam Che groaned, his stomach sinking. Ban Khao was a speck of a village, a cluster of tin-roofed homes, surrounded by nothing. And Route 305 was the fastest way there. Road he'd avoided since a friend swore he'd seen a woman standing in its middle, vanishing when he swerved. Just old men and their tales, Sam Chai muttered, rubbing his eyes. But the payout 200 baht, double the usual, tempted him. One more than home, he told himself, pocketing his phone. He rode to the noodle stall, a shack glowing faintly under a flickering bulb. The cook, a grizzled woman named Mei Yai, handed him a plastic bag of pad crab. Pow, her hands trembling slightly. "You're taking 3 and 5?" she asked, her voice low, her eyes darting to the dark. Song Chai nodded, forcing a grin. "Fastest way." She hesitated, then leaned close, her breath sour with garlic. "Be careful. She's out tonight. Feel it. Keep your eyes ahead. Don't stop." He laughed, a nervous bark, and waved her off. "Ghosts don't eat stir-fry. May, I'll be fine." But her stare followed him as he revved his bike, a knot of unease tightening in his chest. Route 305 unfurled before him, a ribbon of cracked asphalt swallowed by the night. The city's lights faded in his mirrors, replaced by the looming shapes of banana trees, their leaves rustling like whispers in the still air. The engine's hum was his only company, a steady drone that kept his nerves at bay, though his hands gripped the handlebars too tight, his knuckles whitening. The headlight carved a frail path, catching glints of dew on the road, but beyond its reach, the dark was absolute a void that seemed to watch him back. Sun Chai's mind wandered, fighting the silence. He thought of his mother, frail and coughing in their cramped apartment, her medicine costing more each month. He thought of his ex-wife, gone 2 years now, her last words, "You're never enough," still a splinter in his heart. He thought of the road, the stories, and pushed them down, humming a pop song to drown the quiet. "Just a job," he muttered, his voice swallowed by the trees. "Drop the food, get the cash, sleep." The first mile passed uneventfully, the road straight and empty, the banana groves a green wall on either side. He relaxed a fraction, the payout's promise easing his tension. But then the air shifted cooler, sharper, a dampness that clung to his skin. His headlight flickered, just once, and a faint sound pricked his ears a rustle. Not the trees, but softer, like cloth dragging on the ground. He slowed, peering ahead, his pulse quickening. Animals, he told himself, though the night was too still, the cicadas oddly mute. He sped up, the engine's roar a shield, but the unease grew, a weight he couldn't shake, ... Halfway to Bankau, 5 kilometers in, it happened. The bike dipped, a sudden lurch, as if the rear tire had hit a rut butt. The road was smooth, the asphalt unbroken. Sun Chai's breath hitched, his spine stiffening, and a heaviness settled on his back, cold and solid, like a passenger had climbed aboard. His shoulders sagged, his arms straining to hold the bars, and a chill seeped through his jacket, piercing his bones. "What the?" he gasped, his voice trembling, his mind racing. Flat tire, engine trouble, anything but the truth creeping into his thoughts. He glanced at his side mirror, a habit from years of riding, and froze. A woman stared back pale as moonlight, her white dress tattered and wet, her long hair whipping in the windless night. Her face was a ruin, skin stretched tight, lips cracked, and her eyes black voids, endless, swallowing the mirror's reflection. She sat behind him, impossibly close, her head tilted, her mouth moving. A whisper slithered into his ears, soft, intimate, a voice that knew him, that burrowed into his skull. His heart slammed against his ribs, terror flooding him, a primal fear that locked his jaw and blurred his vision. The bike slowed, the engine sputtering, though the tank was full, the throttle wide open. "No, no, no," he choked, slamming the gas, but the weight pressed harder, her cold seeping deeper, numbing his arms. He swerved, the road tilting, banana leaves brushing his face like clammy hands. The mirror showed her still and moving, unblinking, her black eyes fixed on him, her whisper growing Somchai. Take me. A plea, a command, a curse. His stomach churned, bile rising, and he tasted salt tears or sweat. He couldn't tell his mind, screaming one word: run. Somchai's hands shook, his prayers tumbling out half-remembered chants from childhood. Pleas to Buddha, to anything that might hear. Pra Futhajao, protect me, get her off. He stammered, his voice cracking, the words a lifeline against the dark. The bike crawled, its roar a feeble whine, and the road stretched endless, the village a distant dream. Her weight shifted, her cold arms brushing his sides, not gripping but hovering, a touch that burned with ice. The mirror flickered sometimes, she was there, sometimes not, her form fading, then snapping back, her eyes always waiting. The air thickened, a fog rolling in from nowhere, curling around the trees, swallowing the road's edges. Shadows danced in its shapes, figures, hands reaching from the groves, their fingers long and twisted. Somchai's chest tightened, his breath fogging in the headlight, the cold sinking into his lungs. He heard her breathe not a sound, but a feeling, a rattle in his ribs, a death rattle that wasn't his own. Somchai, don't leave me, she whispered, louder now, her voice wet, as if spoken through water, through blood. He swerved again, nearly tipping, the bike's tires screeching on wet asphalt wet, though it hadn't rained. The mirror showed her leaning closer, her hair brushing his neck, cold and slick, her face inches from his. Panic surged, a scream clawing up his throat. But he swallowed it, his prayers a frantic chant. Namo tassa bhagavat, his voice breaking, his faith a thin thread against her pull. The engine coughed, the speedometer dropping 20 kilometers per hour, 15, 10, and he felt her shift, her weight tilting him back, her whisper a hiss, stay. Somchai's mind fractured, fear warring with survival. He saw his mother's face, her frail hands, her cough. I can't die here. Not for her. Anne slammed the throttle, the bike lurching forward with a groan. The fog thickened, the road vanishing, but he rode blind, guided by instinct, by desperation. Her whisper grew, Somchai, you can't, and the bike shook, the rear wheel wobbling, as if her hands gripped it, pulling, dragging him into the dark. Shadows lunged, clawing at his arms, his legs, their touch wet and cold, their forms dissolving when he looked. A light flickered, a head faint, yellow, a lantern, and the village emerged, its tin roofs glinting through the haze. Somchai's heart leaped, hope flaring, and he gunned it, the engine screaming, the weight on his back trembling, weakening. Her whisper turned to a wail, no, a sound that split the night, piercing his skull, and the bike surged, breaking free as the fog parted. He hit the village's edge, skidding to a stop, the weight lifting, the cold retreating, leaving him gasping, trembling, alive. He stumbled off the bike, legs buckling, and fumbled the food bag from his basket, his hands numb. The house was a shack, its door creaking open to reveal an old woman, May, like her face lined, her eyes sharp. She took the bag, her gaze flicking to his pale face, his shaking hands. You're lucky, she said, voice low, knowing. She doesn't let everyone go. Somchai stared, his throat dry, unable to speak, her words a weight heavier than the ghosts. In Bangkok's sprawling underbelly, where narrow sois twists like veins through the city, a tale persists among night workers, a shadow, tall and thin, that stalks the alleys after midnight. They call it a Phai Duat, Luat, a blood-drinking spirit, born from a man named Po Chai, a loan shark who terrorized the slums decades ago. One night, his debtors turned on him, beating him to death in a dark sew his blood soaking the walls. His spirit lingered, they say, a shadow too long for a man, its growl a hunger for those who trespass. Delivery riders whispered, "Don't take the shortcuts, don't linger," but some, like Teak, learned too late. Teak was 30, a wiry deliverer man with a scarred cheek and a restless edge, a Bangkok native forged by its chaos. He'd been riding for apps since his teens, after his father's taxi crashed, leaving him to fend for his mother and a mountain of bills. The job was his pulse, the roar of his Honda Wave, the blur of traffic. The cash in his pocket, but the graveyard shifts tested him. The city shifted after dark, its lights dimming, its alleys tightening, and his grandmother's stories shadows with teeth, spirits in the soy scrapped into his silence, unbidden. It was a humid Wednesday night, past 2:30 a.m., when his phone buzzed with an order. Teak was parked near Sukhumvit, the neon fading, sipping a warm energy drink as the streets emptied. The app pinged, "Delivery to house on Sowai Sukhumvit, 49 drop-off only. Order, Somtam, 94. The pay was decent, but the clock was tight, and Teak cursed, wiping sweat from his brow. So I-49 was a maze, its shortcuts faster but riskier, narrow, dark, and quiet after hours. "One more run," he muttered, though the alley shortcuts stirred unease. Drivers avoided it, muttering about shadows and growls. He grabbed the Somtam from a stall, the kuka wiry woman named May, handing it over with a glance. "So, 49 this late?" she asked, her voice low. Teak nodded, strapping the bag on. "Ya quickest way's the alley." "Why?" Maylek frowned, her eyes sharp. "Be careful, something's off in there at night." "Moves wrong," Teak smirked, a tired sound, and revved his bike. "Just rats, May. See you." But her stare lingered, a seed of doubt sprouting as he rode into the dark. So Sukhumvit, 49, was a warren of concrete and shadow. Its main road lined with condos, its alleys branching into tighter veins. Teak turned off the main drag, the city's hum fading, the air thickening with the scent of damp trash and motor oil. The shortcut saw illumined a narrow slit between sagging buildings, its walls stained, its lights long dead. His headlight pierced the dark, a frail beam swallowed by the gloom, and the silence pressed in. The hum of his engine, a lone heartbeat in the stillness. Teak's grip tightened, his smirk fading, the alley's quiet unnerving him. He'd taken it before daylight runs, no trouble, but night changed it, sharpened its edges, made it feel alive. His mind drifted to his mother coughing in their shack, her medicine overdue. To his father's crash, the wreckage haunting his dreams. To the road ahead, its shadows too deep. "Just a quick cut," he muttered, his voice small, the Somtam warm against his back. The alley swallowed him, its walls closing, the air cooling, a faint whiff of iron blood, pricking his nose. The first stretch was tight, his mirrors brushing concrete, his headlight catching graffiti names, curses, a smeared handprint to red to be paint. Teak's pulse quickened, his smirk gone, Maylek's warning gnawing at him. "Nothing here," he whispered, though his eyes darted, his ears straining past the engine's hum. A sound came, a rustle, low and soft, like cloth dragging on stone. He slowed, squinting, his heart thudding. "Cats," he told himself, though the silence deepened, the rustle gronger scrape, a step, a presence he couldn't see. Halfway through, it appeared. His headlight caught at a shadow on the wall, tall and thin, stretching across the concrete, its edges sharp, its form too long, too wrong. Teak's breath hitched, his hands trembling, the bike slowing as he stared. It wasn't his own shadow hugged the ground, stunted by the light, but this one towered, its arms dangling, its head tilted at an angle no neck could hold. "What the?" he gasped, his voice shaking, fear spiking, his mind racing. Trick of the light, reflection, anything but the truth creeping in. The shadow moved, slid, not stepped, pacing him, its head tilting further, a crack echoing like bone snapping. A growl rumbled, low and guttural, not from the alley but inside him, vibrating his ribs, a hunger he felt in his blood. Teek's stomach lurched, terror flooding him, his bike wobbling as he gunned the throttle. The shadow kept pace, its arms stretching, fingers clawing the wall, the growl deepening mine. A whisper in his skull, not his ears, a voice of gravel and rage. His phone died screen black, the app frozen on delivering, the headlight flickering, the alley darkening. No, 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 Tick choked, his prayers tumbling out. Pra Futha Jao, save me, raw, desperate, a plea from his childhood, his hands numb on the bars. The shadow loomed, its form bending, leaning over him, the growl a snarl now, the air chilling, his breath fogging despite the heat. He swerved, the bike scraping the wall, sparks flying, the shadow's fingers brushing his mirror cold, real, a touch that burned. Teek rode hard, the alley a tunnel of dread, the shadow pacing, its head tilting, snapping, a puppet on broken strings. The growl swelled, mine, louder, closer, a hunger that clawed his mind, draining his warmth, pulling his blood. Visions hit poor Chai, beaten in this SOI, his skull cracking, his blood pooling, his eyes glinting as he rose. A shadow born of rage, hunting those who crossed his path. Teek saw himself bled dry, a husk in the alley, his mother waiting and screamed, the sound tearing his throat, his prayers a chant. Na Motasa, his faith a frail shield. The alley twisted, its end a sliver of light, and the shadow lunged tall, thin, its fingers stretching, brushing his back, icy and sharp. The bike sputtered, the throttle failing, the growl a roar now, shaking the walls, dust raining from above. Tick's chest tightened, his vision blurring, the light so close, the shadow so near mine. Its voice splitting his ears, his blood pounding, his life slipping. He slammed the gas, the bike surging, the alley's mouth opening, and he burst out, the shadow receding, the growl fading, the air warming as he hit SOI 49's main drag. He skidded to a stop, gasping, trembling, the Som Tam still warm against his back. The house was steps away, a condo, its lights faint tanned. He dropped the bag, his hands numb, his chest heaving. Done, he whispered, though the alley's echo lingered, the shadows touch a burn on his spine. Tick didn't sleep. Couldn't his mother's cough, a distant sound, his cigarette trembling as he replayed the growl, the shadow. The next night, 3 a.m., his phone buzzed. SO, I succumbed, 49, same order, same sign note, come back. His stomach dropped, his smirk gone, dread pooling in his gut. He deleted it, blocked the app, but the notifications stayed. Come back, a glitch, a call, the growl in the static. He quit, took a day job, stayed off the source, but the burn remained, red lines, claw marks, flaring in the dark. One night, riding home, he heard it, mine, soft, from an alley, a shadow stretching where no one stood. The SOI waits, its walls hiding poor Chai's hunger. Riders warned, cut through, don't linger. Tick carries his mark, his growl, a piece of his shadow, knowing he waits, his fingers a curse, his call a chain he broke but never escaped. In the rural reaches of Konken, where rice fields shimmer under the moon and old houses lean with age. A whispered tale lingers among the locals, a voice that sings from the shadows. They call it a Fidik, a child spirit, trapped in a small wooden box carved with protective runes. Her name was Nang Fon, a girl who died of sickness in the 1980s. Her mother's grief twisting into a dark ritual to bind her soul, keeping her close. The box passed through hands, its lullaby a haunting echo of her loneliness, a curse on those who carry it. Delivery riders avoid such packages, but some, like May, stumble into its song. May was 35, a sturdy delivery rider with a weathered face and a quiet resolve. A Konkan native who'd seen its fields turn from green to gold. She'd taken up the job 5 years back after her husband left, leaving her with 2 kids and a crumbling house to hold together. The work was her anchor, the hum of her old Yamaha scooter, the rhythm of the road, the small joys of a tip butt. The late shifts drained her. The nights stretched long, the villagers hushed, and her mother's tale spirits in the fields, voices in the dark, pricked at her, especially when the moon hung low. It was a cool Thursday night, past 11 p.m, when her phone buzzed with an order. May was parked near a roadside stall, sipping lukewarm tea, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and diesel. The app pinged pickup. House on Soe Ban Nan, drop off. House near Chumfei Road. Package, small box, urgent liver by midnight. The pay was 100 baht, decent for a short run, and May sighed, rubbing her tired eyes. One last job, she muttered, though Soi Ban Nan stirred Oniza. Quiet lane of old homes, rarely lit, and Chumfei Road was worse, a lonely stretch cutting through fields. She rode to the pickup, the stall's lights fading, the road narrowing into a dirt path flanked by bamboo and sagging fences. The house was a reliquidum, its roof mossy, its windows dark, no sign of life. May parked, her scooter's engine ticking as it cooled and knocked, the sound echoing too loud in the stillness. The door creaked open, a shadow within a figure cloaked in a shawl, face hidden, handing her a small wooden box. It was heavy, cold, carved with runes, and the figure's voice rasped, "Take it quick, don't open it." May nodded, her throat dry, and slipped it into her delivery bag, the weight settling against her back like a stone. The road to Chumfei was a ribbon of dust and shadow, the fields sprawling under a half moon, the air cooling as May rode. Her headlight carved a frail path, the engine's hum a comfort against the silence. Though her hands gripped the bars tight, her knuckles pale. The box pressed against her spine, colder than the night, and she hummed a pop tune. Pushing back the unease from the pick up the dark house, the rasping voice, the runes she didn't recognize. "Just a weird old lady," she muttered, her voice swallowed by the fields. Her mind drifted too, her kids asleep at home, their school fees due. To her husband, gone with a bar girl, his absence a scar. To the road ahead, its emptiness a weight she couldn't name. The first mile passed, the village receding, the fields stretching too quiet, no crickets, no wind, just the hum and her. The air shifted, a dampness creeping in, the scent of wet earth and something sweeter jasmine, too strong, too close. Her headlight flickered, just once, and a sound pricked her ears, a hum, soft and faint, not hers, weaving through the engine's drone, ... May slowed, her tune faltering, her eyes darting to her mirrors. Nothing but fields, the road, the dark. Wind, she told herself, though the air was still, the hum growing a melody, an old Thai lullaby. Luke Thung One, her mother sang, soothing yet mournful. It came from her bag, muffled but clear, a child's voice, small and sweet, singing in the night. May's heart thudded, unease blooming, her hands steady but clammy. "What the hell?" she whispered, speeding up. The engine's roar a shield, but the lullaby followed, louder, insistent, a thread she couldn't cut. The singing swelled. Nong Jiao, Tidta. Clear now, a girl's voice, pure but eerie, rising from the bag, the box. May's breath hitched, fear spiking, her scooter wobbling as she glanced back. Nothing. Just the bag, the box inside, its weight heavier, colder, alive. The lullaby grew, more insistent, the words looping. "Stay with me, stay with me." A plea that burrowed into her ears, her skull. Her hands shook, sweat beading despite the chill, and the song shifted. May, her name, soft knowing, a giggle lacing the tune. "No, no," May gasped, her voice trembling, her prayers tumbling out. "Pra, Futha Jiao, protect me," raw, desperate, a chant from her childhood. The box thumped once, twice a kick against her back, the wood creaking, the lullaby right beside her ear now. A breath, she felt cold, damp, a child's sigh. She swerved, the road tilting, dust kicking up, her mirrors empty but her senses screaming. She's here, she's here. The fields darkened, the moon dimming, a fog rolling in from nowhere, curling around her, the lullaby, a chorus. May, don't leave me. May stopped, her brakes screeching, her chest heaving, the fog thick and clinging. She tore the bag off, her hands numb, fumbling the straps, and opened it. Nothing but the box, sealed, still, its runes glinting faintly. The singing stopped, the silence deafening, her ears ringing, her breath fogging in the headlight. "Just a box," she choked, slamming the bag shut. But her hands shook, her gut twisting, the giggle echoing in her mind. May, she mounted again, the engine roaring, the drop-off her only escape, the fog a shroud she couldn't shake. ... May rode hard, the lullaby returning fainter, then louder, a hum that swelled into song. Nang Jiao, its rhythm matching her pulse, her fear. The box thumped again, harder, bruising her back. The voice beside her, May, play with me, a giggle, a plea, a command. The fog thickened, the road vanishing, her headlight dimming. The fields alive with shadows, small hands. A child's form, dancing in the mist, vanishing when she looked. "Get out," May shouted, her voice breaking, her prayers a sob. "Na, Motasa," her faith fraying against the song. Visions hit a girl in a dark room, fever burning, her mother weeping. A monk's chants, runes carved, her soul bound, her eyes opening black as the box closed. Nang Fon, trapped, her lullaby a cry for freedom, her thumps a rage against her prison, her curse on the carrier. May's stomach churned, tears streaming, her kids' faces flashing GI. Can't leave the mand, she gunned it, the engine screaming, the fog parting. Chumfei Road emerging a row of homes, their lights faint, their silence heavy. The drop-off was a shack, its porch bare, its door ajar. May skidded to a stop, the lullaby shrill, May, the box kicking, her back aching. She dropped the bag, a man stumbling out thin, nervous, his eyes darting. He grabbed it, muttering, "She won't stop singing until it's home," and slammed the door. The song cut off, the silence jarring, May's chest heaving, her hands trembling as she rode away, the fog lifting, the night still. May reached home past midnight, her kids asleep, her shack quiet. She burned incense, prayed, but sleep brought nightmares, lullabies, thumps, black eyes. The next night, past 1 a.m., she woke to it, Nang Jiao, soft from the window, a shadow swaying outside, small and pale. May froze, her heart pounding, the lullaby a thread she couldn't cut, her prayers a whisper, go away. But the song lingered, a mark she couldn't erase. The shack waits, Nang Fon's box gone, but her voice eternal. Riders warned, don't take the dark packages. May carries her song, her thumps, a piece of her loneliness. Knowing she waits, her lullaby a curse, her giggle a chain she delivered but never escaped. Along Phuket's coastal roads, where the Andaman Sea crashes against jagged cliffs and the rain falls in sheets, a legend persists among late-night riders. They speak of a woman in a drenched sarong, a Phai Nam, a water spirit born from a drowning decades ago. Her name was Nang Rin, a fisherman's daughter who, betrayed by her lover, waded into the sea during a storm, her cries swallowed by the waves. Her body washed ashore, bloated and broken, her teeth blackened by the salt, her spirit bound to the rain. She haunts the roads now, they say, seeking riders to carry her sorrow, her wet hands a curse on those who stop. Keng was 28, a lean delivery rider with weathered skin and a quiet grit, a Phuket local who'd ridden its roads since he could balance a bike. He'd taken up delivery work after his fishing gig dried up, tourists dwindling, boats rusting leaving. Him with a sister to support and a shack to maintain. The job suited him. The roar of his Yamaha, the rush of deadlines, the sea air in his lungs. Day runs were easy, the sun glinting off the waves, but night shifts were a grind the dark closed in. The roads emptied, and his father's tales ghosts in the surf, shadows in the rain echoed in his silence. It was a stormy Friday night, past 10 p.m, when his phone buzzed with an order. Keng was parked under a palm tree near Patong Beach, the rain hammering his helmet, his poncho slick and useless. The app pinged. Delivery to house on Coastal Road, 4028 pizza, drop-off only. Time, ASAP. The pay was 120 baht, solid for a wet run, and Keng sighed, wiping his visor. One more, then dry, he muttered, though Coastal Road, 4028, stirred a flicker of Uniza. Lonely stretch past the resorts, its cliffs steep, its curves treacherous in the rain. He picked up the pizza from a stall in Patong, the cook a gruff man named Petey handing it over with a grimace. 4028, in this, Petey asked, rain dripping from his awning. Keng nodded, securing the box. "Ya good tip. Why?" Petey leaned close, his voice low over the storm. "That road's bad on rainy nights watch for her. She likes riders." Keng smirked, a tired sound, and revved his bike. "Ghosts don't tip. P, I'm good." But Petey's frown followed him, a seed of doubt sprouting as he rode into the deluge. Coastal Road 4028 unfurled through the rain, a slick ribbon of asphalt hugging the cliffs, the sea roaring to Keng's left. The storm raged wind, howling, waves crashing, rain stinging his face through the visor. His headlight struggled, its beam a frail thread in the downpour, the road blurring into a sheen of black water. Banana trees loomed, their leaves thrashing, and the air smelled of salt and rot, the sea's breath heavy and wild. Keng's hands gripped the bars, his poncho flapping, his pulse steady, but tight storms were nothing new, but this one felt alive, angry. He hummed a fisherman's song, a habit from his boat days, the rhythm keeping his nerves at bay. His mind drifted too, his sister, sewing nets at home, her dreams of school. To his father, lost to a squall years back. To the road ahead, its curves hiding shadows he didn't want to see. "Just deliver and go," he muttered, his voice lost in the wind, the the pizza box warm against his back. The first mile passed, the resorts fading, the road emptying too empty. No cars, no lights, just the storm and him. The rain thickened, a curtain of water, and the air chilled, his breath fogging faintly despite the humidity. His headlight flickered, the engine stuttering, and a sound pricked his ears, not the storm, but softer a wail, faint and mournful, weaving through the wind. Keng slowed, squinting into the dark, his heart quickening. Waves, he told himself, though the sound was Ronghue, been pleading, a cry from the sea. He sped up, the engine's roar a shield, but the unease grew, a weight in his gut he couldn't shake. ... Halfway to the drop-off, she appeared. A figure in the road, faint at first, a blur in the rain tall, thin, waving a hand as if flagging him down. Keng's breath caught, his instincts torn right past, or stop. She wore a sarong, drenched and clanging, her hair plastered to her shoulders, and pity stirred him, stranded, lost, needs help. He slowed, the bike idling, the rain pounding his helmet as he called, "Hey you, okay?" She turned, stepping into his headlight, and his pity froze into dread. Her smile stretched wide, her teeth black and jagged stained, broken. A maw of decay and her eyes glinted, too bright, too hollow, like sea glass in a skull. Water streamed from her, not rain but thicker, darker, pooling at her feet, her sarong dripping endlessly. "Can you take me with you?" she asked, her voice soft, wet, a gurgle through drowned lungs, cutting through the storm. Keng's heart slammed, terror flooding him, his hands trembling on the bars. "No," he choked, revving the engine, but before he could move, she vanished gone, the road empty. Her voice echoing, "Take me." The bike stalled, the engine dying, silence crashing over him, save for the rain's roar. Keng's chest heaved, panic clawing his throat, his prayers tumbling out. "Pra, Futhajau, protect me." Raw, desperate, a plea to anything listening. He kicked the starter, the engine coughing, and it roared back. But a wet hand gripped his shoulder, cold, heavy. Rialet's fingers digging through his poncho, piercing his skin with ice. He screamed, swerving, the bike tilting, the cliff's edge looming as he fought to hold the road. Keng rode blind, the hand a constant weight, its chill seeping into his bones, numbing his arm. "Take me," she whispered, not in his ears but his mind, a wail that shook his skull, her voice weaving with the storm. The rain lashed harder, the road a slick mirror, his headlight dimming as if drowned. Shadows flickered her beside him, ahead, her black teeth glinting, her wet form swaying, vanishing, reappearing. The hand tightened, nails clawing, and visions hit a girl in the sea, waves crashing, her lover's boat sailing away. Her screams swallowed, her body sinking, her spirit rising with the rain. "Get off!" Keng shouted, his voice breaking, his prayers a chant. "Na Motasa," his faith a frail thread against her pull. The bike slowed, the engine sputtering, her weight dragging him back, the cliff's edge inches away. He swerved, tires screeching, the sea roaring below, and her wail surged. "Take me," a shriek that split the night, the hand burning his shoulder, his warmth draining into her. The road twisted, the house near, and Keng gunned it, desperation fueling him, her touch a chain he couldn't break. The drop-off emerged a shack on stilts, its lights faint, its porch slick with rain. Keng skidded to a stop, the hand still there, her whisper relentless, "Take me." He tore the pizza from his bag, stumbled to the porch, and dropped it, his shoulder throbbing, his breath ragged. The door opened, an old woman peering out, her eyes sharp. She took the box, her gaze flicking to his pale face, his shaking hands. She follows riders on rainy nights. She whispered a knowing edge to her voice and shut the door. Kang mounted his bike, the hand gone, the cold lingering, his shoulder aching with a burn he couldn't see. He rode back, the storm easing, the rain a soft patter, but her wail echoed faint, distant, a thread in the wind. His mirrors stayed empty, his prayers a murmur, his chest tight with fear and relief. I'm out. I'm out, though her touch stayed, a wet mark on his soul. Sleep that night was fitful, her black teeth haunting his dreams, her voice in the rain outside. Weeks later, the burn remained red lines, claw marks, flaring in storms. Another rainy night, parked in Patong, he heard it take me, soft from the sea, a shadow in the downpour, waving. Kang froze, his bike still, her call a debt he'd never pay.